All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Gonna be touching on my favorite prop bets and the top prop bets here in the NBA on this Wednesday. Gonna be covering my favorite traditional sportsbook bets as well as my favorite prize picks and underdog bets. I do want to start off with some underdog bets because currently we are getting some plus EV bets that I want you guys to be able to make. So I'm gonna start out the video with that, and then we'll get into the game by game breakdown. Let's go and get into it. And so, yes, guys, starting out with the underdog bet board right now that we have, the main slate board that we have, there are two really good NBA bets that I want to call. Jaden Ivey for over 15.5 points. Again, I typically don't like to put these on the bet of the day slip because I assume they're going to get bumped. But because I'm doing this video a little bit earlier and trying to get this video out pretty fast as to when I'm recording this, I think there's a good chance that this one will be available. So bet the over 14.5 for Jaden Ivey. His average sportsbook line is at 15.5. You see the PrizePicks line is at 15.5. That's a clear, very good edge for us. And then Goga Batadze for under his rebounds of 9.5. The projection data really doesn't like him. PrizePicks has already bumped that one down. And then same thing with Jalen Duren, guys, for over his points. That's a pretty solid bet there for him to get over 7.5. Again, PrizePicks has already bumped that up to 8. The average sportsbook line would have that set at 8.2. Then another bet that I decently like here as well, Jalen Johnson to get over 4.5 assists. Not exactly a plus EV bet, but also not a terrible bet. He is someone I'll touch on in just a second. So with that, guys, that kind of concludes the plus EV bet portion of this. Let's go ahead and get into the game by game breakdown. And so jumping on into this first game, we got Detroit versus Boston. Okay, and Detroit is going to be 14-point dogs in this game, which is going to be the biggest concern here about predictability. When does the blowout occur? Also, we got Tatum, who is currently questionable for this game, as well as Drew Holiday. That does bring up, I guess, a little bit of an issue there. If one of them sits, that does drastically change like who we'd want to be on in terms of betting on. We are currently only getting Tatum props though because Drew Holiday is questionable, and if Tatum sits, that does drastically change the production for Jaylen Brown and really the rest of the Boston Celtics starters. Whereas if Drew Holiday sits, sure, it changes the dynamic a little bit, but not as much. So what I want to concentrate on is, all right, we have some Tatum props. What occurs if Drew Holiday were to sit? Because if Tatum sits, and we're on him, who cares, right? If Drew Holiday plays and we're on Tatum in some capacity, Tatum could still get the over. Tatum does benefit, though, with Drew Holiday off the court. So let's touch on that. And just as an FYI, guys, I'll be tossing or going in between the prize picks and underdog boards that we have available right now, just to show you guys kind of my favorite bets as an example. And I'm doing that because on PrizePicks, they might have some bets available. On Underdog, they might have some other bets available. So that's why I'm going with that route. So do want to talk about Tatum points. So this is a bet that I had earlier at 25.5 points. A little bit annoying. On Underdog, I had that. They have since taken that bet off the board. So be on the lookout, though, for that if they do make this bet available later on today. But I do think it's a decent one. So last game against Detroit, Tatum was able to go for 37 points. And I do think that's good. He has a season hit rate of 58% to get over. This is for 25.5 points, just as an FYI, to get over 25.5 points. And what he averages with Drew Holiday off the court is about 34 points per 36. And there's a very good sample size in that mix. And so I really don't mind the idea of betting on Tatum to get over 26.5 points. It's not one where we have to go crazy with, but if we're trying to find a bet in this game, I think that'd be a route that we could go. So a bet that I liked yesterday was Cade Cunningham to get over 7.5 assists or 8.5 assists. He did not do that. He only had 6 assists in that game. But for the same reasons as to why I liked it yesterday, I'm going to like it again today. Yes, we know this game has a great chance of being a blowout like it did yesterday. That's part of the equation. But if you look at his last 10 games, or really just his season hit rate, he has still hit this over 78% of the time. And again, this is why I don't like to look at hit rate, guys. It brings us to conclusions that we typically shouldn't, because with Cade Cunningham, he is coming back from injury and whatnot. There is that part of the variable, and also the game is projected to be a blowout, so we don't know exactly how many minutes he's going to get, but he still had a lot of minutes last game. And so I don't mind the over 7.5 assists, or you could go over with his, we'll jump into prize picks here. You could go with his over points and assists as well, 28.5. This is something they did get the over with yesterday, over 28.5 points and assists. He has a season hit rate of 87% here, which is pretty solid. And with Cade Cunningham, yes, he could be a little bit rusty. This is the back end of a back-to-back. Heck, I wouldn't even be surprised if he were to sit out this game because, again, he was banged up for a little bit, did miss some games there. Back in a back-to-back, you never know for sure, which has made me kind of want to bet on Jaden Ivey or someone like that, just because Jaden Ivey benefits with Cunningham off the court. So I did want to do that, but I'm not going to. And now we jump on into this next game. We got Indiana versus Brooklyn. So the Pacers are going to be 2.5-point favorites in this game. And I do think it's important to call out here that Andrew Nembhard, he's been back for 2 games now, 15 minutes in his first game, 19 minutes in the second game against Toronto. So is he going to see another minutes increase? That's my biggest question, because if he does get another minutes increase, that does slightly hurt TJ McConnell in terms of his points per game. He's already someone that doesn't get that many minutes, but you look at his per 36 production, guys, he averages 1.5 points less and actually 3.1 assists less. So he really does not get that many assists, and that's per 36 again. TJ McConnell only getting around 25, 22 minutes, or in between there, obviously. So, like, don't need to go crazy with him. But Benedict Mathurin as well. He is someone where we look at that per 36 production, it's going to be a more true statistic here. He is someone that averages 1.6 less points per 36 with Nembhard on the court. And if Nembhard actually steals some minutes from Mathurin, which I don't think he really will, but he could, I think the under that we're getting on Benedict Mathurin is one of my favorite, like, traditional sportsbook bets for under 19.5 points. The one concern that I have is the fact that he has consistently gone this under recently, 1 for 5 over the past few games. And so why would Vegas be giving us this line is really my question here. One, the matchup with Brooklyn, assuming all the players that are projected to be out are out, a little bit of a better matchup. You know, on the season, he only has a 38% hit rate as well. So I'm like scratching my head as to, like, why is this line here? Like, Vegas does know more than us. And so that's really my pause here, is the fact that he hasn't gone this over consistently. But maybe they're just not catching that with Nembhard. And so I do like the under here for 19.5 points for Benedict Mathurin. And for what's worth, guys, if we look at all the data points coming in from the 9-to-5 cheat sheet, we are going to see that the data does agree with the unders. DVP projection, which is taken what the defense gives up on a point per minute basis times the projected minutes for a player, and so that's at 17.95. The projection data just in general, 17 points, which is a separate thing, guys. That's mostly DFS, like, base projections. You take his Vegas line divided by his average minutes times by his projected minutes. That's still a little bit lower. Average projection, so just all the average lines together, that's a little bit lower. So across the board, this is a pretty solid bet, for traditional sportsbooks, because we look on, like, the PrizePicks sheet, a 52% chance for the under, so not exactly a bet that we typically want to go out of our way to bet on PrizePicks Underdog, because it's not that, like, plus EV bet, but still not a terrible bet. And then I do think it's worth calling out here, guys, looking at Dennis Schroeder, who we are currently not getting bets here for Brooklyn. We are Cameron Johnson, that's it. But the reason why we're not getting that many lines is because if Cameron Johnson sits, Dennis Schroeder does benefit a decent amount, even more so. He is someone that averages 25.1 points per 36 with Cameron Johnson and Cam Thomas off the court. Okay, he's already someone that we like to target. He does average 9.9 assists per 36 with those two off the court. Rebounds doesn't really change. And so we could be looking at him points and assist-wise. This is something that I called out kind of over the last couple of slates when this has occurred, where we haven't exactly been getting his bets yet. This kind of happened yesterday with Brandon Miller, where I'm like, we don't have these bets available, but, like, I'm assuming that we will, obviously. And when we do, I don't think they're going to be able to properly value that player. I think that's going to happen here with Dennis Schroeder. So kind of the general rule of thumb here, guys, is if we get a line with Dennis Schroeder where his points and assist line is basically at his average here, which let's just say 25.5 points and assist, I would want to bet that over. I'd probably still bet that over at like 27.5, but that's starting to be getting a little bit tight there. So let's go ahead and jump on into this next game. We got Miami versus the Lakers. And to me, guys, there's really not that much here. And the Lakers lines that we're getting are all pretty solid, I would say. I personally don't really see a big edge there. And for Miami, we do have a big question mark with Jimmy Butler. Is he going to be active in this game? Because he did sit out the second half, or kind of the closing minutes of his last game. And so he is someone that when he plays, I do think we could actually be looking at some of his overs, but we don't know. And so I don't mind the idea of doing some, like, stack bets based off of Jimmy Butler potentially sitting, because we are getting lines for Tyler Hero and Bam. But I do think it's worth calling out the lines that we are getting are not really that great. Like, in terms of us getting expected edge, not that great. Now, in Underdog, we are getting Tyler Hero's points at 22.5. I'm showing you guys this on the PrizePicks cheat sheet. I do like that over 22.5 points there for Tyler Hero. They actually dropped that down from 23.5, and I would assume that points to the likelihood of Jimmy Butler to play. But if Jimmy Butler were to sit, guys, that'd be a pretty big edge that we were getting there. Tyler Hero averages 27 points per 36 with Jimmy Butler off the court, which is a pretty big bump. He also has a 40% usage rate with Jimmy Butler off the court. I do think it's worth calling out. Jaime Jaquez is someone that we can look at as well. Jaquez just gets a big bump in his usage rate. 39% usage rate. So he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot as well. So that's really it there with that Lakers game. Then we get into this matchup with the Orlando versus Philly. So Orlando had to do kind of a funny thing yesterday. They were getting blown out. And because they were getting blown out so much, they had to play their starters a lot. Wagner ended up getting 39 minutes in a blowout. And the reason why that was is because the stupid NBA Cup. I'm not a big fan of the NBA Cup. Real quick, hot take, guys. Like, to me, the NBA Cup and really the playing games has led to the decreased ratings of just regular games, if that makes sense. So not NBA Cup games that are part of the regular season. Or if you want to include the playing games in the regular season, like that to me has led to the huge decline in NBA viewership. That's like a big thing this year. And it's like, no duh. Like, you put an emphasis on these random games throughout the season. And I know there's a funny joke going on in my fantasy football group chat. It's like, well, the NBA doesn't really start until Christmas, pretty much. And that's true, like ratings wise, but just very annoyed. And so, like, stupid stuff like that with the NBA Cup where you're getting blown out, but we got to play a lot of minutes. I don't know. That just goes against the nature of the NBA. Like, I don't know. That's just annoying to me. So anyways, though, like, what are we going to do with the minutes now? Like, Is Wagner going to play less minutes? Are some of those Orlando players going to play less minutes? I'm a little bit concerned about that. Now, we do have that plus CV bet for Goga. As I'm still recording this, we have that. But I'm mostly staying away from Orlando there. And I do want to talk about Philly here because we are getting Andre Drummond out. And we got one decent bet, I would say, with rebounds here. And he is someone that's been getting a lot of minutes in games with Drummond off the court. And you look at his per 36 production with Drummond off the court, he should be able to get this over. He averages 9.4 rebounds per 36, which is a big bump from his per game average. And obviously that's mostly due to the increase in minutes. But I like the bets that we are getting for him. Now, on Underdog, the only bet that I could find for him on Underdog right now was his over 1.5 rebounds in the first quarter, which I'm perfectly fine with. Like, if Drummond's out, he should be starting. He should be getting those minutes. And so I'm kind of okay with that. Now, the issue is obviously the rotation. You get the first 7 minutes, and then you're not playing for the rest of the quarter, so he does need to get that over in the first quarter. Well, the first rotation. And then let's go ahead and jump on into this next game. We got Atlanta versus Milwaukee, and I'm a little bit surprised by the line here. The Bucks are only favored by 4.5 points, which if you've been following the Bucks, they've really just been crushing. Giannis specifically has just been dominating. And a lot of their games recently just haven't been close. And so it's just a strange line. I don't fully understand it. Maybe Vegas thinks there's a chance Lillard or Giannis hits on the back end of the back-to-back. That could potentially happen. Now, the one bet that I like here currently is going to be Giannis to get over 6.5 assists. Now, that's going to be a bet on Underdog. They'll pay out 1.3x. Maybe it might have changed a little bit, maybe 1.1x still. A good bet there. And so, obviously, that's a bet where the over is not that likely. But the reason why I like it is, one, this game should be a decently high-scoring game, and he has consistently gotten this over. We see his average on the season is about 6.7 assists. Just on the season. But lately, he's been getting 8, 11, 6, 11, 8. He's been flirting around with some triple doubles as well recently. And so I do think that his recent play and the Bucks just in general are just playing better right now. And if they are continuing to play well like they have been, I do think that gives us a better chance for him to be able to get over 6.5 assists. And so here's the conundrum here, guys. So I am pulling it up here on PrizePicks right now. And we're seeing that that's a good plus EV bet for us to actually bet the under. That's one of the best bets on the NBA board right now, is for him to get under 6.5 assists. So obviously not a good bet there on PrizePicks. You wouldn't want to bet the over there. This is more for traditional sportsbooks, maybe sleeper if they have their kind of wild card Wednesday. This could be a bet that you go ahead and toss in there. Now, that's kind of what I like to do on sleeper with those discounts, is toss in bets where you're getting more of like a 2x payout or, an increased payout rather than the 50-50 split that they typically do. And so that's the way I would go about using that bet. Now we jump on into the Underdog board to look at some of the Atlanta prop bets, and I do like a decent amount of the Atlanta prop bets that we are currently getting. So whether it be betting on Jalen Johnson to get over his assist or points in assist, I think that'd be a good route that we can go. Jalen Johnson has been someone that's been playing pretty darn well recently, and we're not getting a line here on Underdog for his over like 23.5 points and assists, which would be a bet that I like. That's a bet that's available on traditional sportsbooks. So I really think that that'd be a strong bet for us. So let's just take a peek at his assist line. of 4.5. Oh, we are actually getting this one on PrizePicks. So let's pull this one up here. So Jalen Johnson get over 23.5 points and assists. So you look at his season hit rate is about 87%. You guys can see he's been crushing this over. The issue that I have here is that he's only gotten this over 0 times recently against the Bucks, which is a little bit of a concern there. That's more of a data point that I like to see, but he is playing extremely well this season. And the biggest thing with him is the minutes have been there for him. So let's just say Vegas is right about the 4.5 points, which I don't think they are. If you look at how they were yesterday in terms of expectations for the game, really not that good in terms of point spread. And so that can be the very big difference in terms of hitting bets and not hitting bets. It's just Vegas being right about the game and obviously making your bet slips based off of how Vegas sees the game going. And so if this game is a blowout, I do think that decreases the likelihood of this bet hitting, but still not bad. And then again, we do have that over 4.5 assists that you could run out there. Obviously, if he's getting his over points and assists, he should be able to get his over assists. And then a bet that I do like as well would be Clint Capella to actually get over 10.5 rebounds and assists. We see that this is kind of a popular bet currently on PrizePicks to get over 9.5 rebounds. And so you tack on rebounds and assists. It's basically the same bet. He has been someone that has been crushing recently. He is also someone that has kind of struggled against the Bucks in terms of getting this over. But we know with Clint Capella, it's all based off of his minutes. And if we look at his minutes, they have been higher recently. And I say that like with a touch of hesitance because 20 minutes there, 19 minutes there, like his minutes are a guessing game. That is still true. But if we can get him on a game where it is a 4.5 point game, we should be able to get him to get his over. Like it's a tight line. I don't exactly trust that because I don't trust his minutes, but still that's a pretty good line. I would say that we are getting there. And then lastly, there is one other bet that I want to call it in this game. And that's going to be Damian Lillard to get over 3.5 rebounds. He is consistently averaging over 4.5 rebounds, and he's basically been consistently getting this over of getting to around 4 rebounds. Like he has a great hit rate on this. I'm a little bit surprised that we are getting this line, and I do expect it to get bumped up. Heck, it'll probably be bumped up by the time I'm finished recording this, to the point where probably the under of 4.5 will be the favorite on most sports books. But if this is still available over 3.5 rebounds, I like that. He has an 82% hit rate, which is obviously pretty good. And the nice thing about it as well is he has a 67% hit rate against the Atlanta Hawks as well in terms of getting over 3.5 rebounds. So that to me is another solid bet that we currently have. And then getting into this last game, guys, there wasn't much here, and I'm a little bit disappointed by that. I didn't like many of the bets that we were getting in the Minnesota versus Clippers game. The one bet that'd be fine going back to would be like Norman Powell. And again, if you kind of want to tease it, you could. Now, he had a very good night shooting last night, and I don't know. I could see him struggling, but with Kevin Porter Jr. off the court, I do think that increases the likelihood for Norman Powell to get closer to 36 minutes. You look at his per 36 production point-wise, it's closer to like 20, 25 points. The issue is he's not getting that many minutes. He still is averaging 24 points in the season. Gets the most difficult matchup, though, for an opposing guard. Or for a guard going against the Minnesota Timberwolves there. So a little bit of a concern, and he could have a poor night shooting. His line, though, tonight is 19.5 points. So not terrible there. All right, so with that, guys, going to be getting to the 9 to 5 bets of the day. But again, if you guys want access to the cheat sheet tools that you saw me using in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to those for just $10 a month. But when you use the promo code Keep Cashing, get the first month for $8. All right, guys, so jumping on into the bet of the day today. Again, do want to call it the plus EV bet that we are currently getting on Underdog. If this is available, by all means, go for it. Again, I don't like to include these on the bet of the day slips because they typically get bumped, and I want this video to be beneficial for everyone, by the time they get in there. But guys, like the video, first of all, but subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I will be trying to do videos either really early in the morning like this or late at night and the day prior. And I'll start with these plus EV bets. And then just sticking with the Underdog, guys. Again, mostly showing you guys this as an example of my favorite NBA bets on the day today. If you guys are some of that bets on traditional sportsbooks, good there. But these are decent bets, I would still say, on PrizePicks and Underdog. Again, with Tyler Hero, just mostly trying to get an edge there, hoping that Jimmy Butler sits. If he does sit, I do think this line would actually go up to at least 24.5. We have seen Underdog bump this down to 23.5. Jalen Johnson to get over his assist. That's a bet that's available on Underdog, and so I'm fine betting that. I do like his over points and assists a little bit better. Benedict Mathurin, again, with Andrew Nembhard, probably getting a little bit more run in this game. Again, it went up from 15 to 19, and I'm expecting to go up a little bit more in tonight's game. Even if it doesn't, Mathurin has consistently hit this under, and it just feels a little bit too high. It feels like it should be at 18.5. And again, you look at the per 36 production with Nembhard on the court, and he's not going to get 36 minutes. Nembhard, that is. But Mathurin does struggle. He averages 1.6 less points per 36. And so I think that's a good one. And I like the over rebounds here just in general with Andre Drummond off the court. And then kind of just looking at my favorite bets for the PrizePicks board as well. Again, going back to Jalen Johnson over 23.5 points and assists. Clint Capella over his rebounds and assists. That's more or less just betting on the game being close. And if it is close, I do like the Damian Lillard over 3.5 rebounds. Again, that's more of a traditional sportsbook bet. Obviously, it's heavily favored for him to get that over. And because of that, I'm still fine betting on him for over 4 rebounds, but I more or less just want to point that out that I do still like that bet, even on the traditional sportsbook bets, even though it's not going to be that good of a payout. And then we are getting 2 really good college football bets that I just want to toss in there because those are good plus EV bets that we are currently getting. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Again, make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. That does help out a lot. If you guys want access to the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Yesterday ended up being a good day later on in the day with a lot of the NBA fantasy score prop bets. Unfortunately, when I recorded the video, the afternoon video, which I probably will be doing again today, 1 for 3 in terms of those fantasy score prop bets. But then later on in the day, Miles Turner, KCP, under fantasy scores were 2 of the best bets, and those ended up hitting pretty easily. So a little bit annoying in terms of the timing, but head on over there, guys. We'll be getting some pretty good edges fantasy score wise later on today. All right, that's going to do it, guys. Thanks for watching. Good luck, and as always, let's keep cashing.